I tell people health is two-pronged. You know, some things happen to you and you just have to respond to it. But if you treat all of your existence like that, where, you know, I'm just going to deal with it when the wheels fall off, then not only is it usually going to be more costly at that point, but your quality of life is going to severely go down.
Okay, so hello. Welcome to episode 55. We're 55 in. We just celebrated our 1 year of podcasting on episode 52.
Nice.
So you are
Into
moving
year
us.
two.
Yes, you're moving us into year 2 of podcasting. So you were just complimenting us on this setup, and it has been kind of a whirlwind to figure out setup. And because whenever we first started this, we had white walls.
Yeah.
And so now there's like, you know, stuff on the walls that looks more attractive than what it did at one point. And anyway, it's been a journey, particularly with technology. I've mentioned that so many times. Technology is.
I can't imagine what all this costs, but it looks really efficient.
In theory, it is very efficient. And maybe I'm just dumb. That is on the table. Me just being dumb. But anyway, we're entering into year 2, super exciting. Today we have Karlee Yocum with Ascension Chiropractic. I'm very excited to have our guest on today, but first and foremost, let's read a review. This is from Kelsey M. She says, the Warren & Mount's agency has been so great with helping us make sure we're saving as much money as we can while making sure we have the best coverage possible, especially with our life insurance. You definitely won't be disappointed working with anyone within this office. All great people. So thank you to Kelsey for leaving us a review. That's so sweet. Peak and Pit, something that's going really, really well. I posted, I don't even think I've shared this with you. So I posted on my stories. And I just said, hey, like, you know, we're always open to having more guests on the podcast. If you or someone you know would be interested in coming on and sharing products and services that you offer, or your friend offers, family, whatever, like, please reach out, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
2 people.
Nice.
Sent me your name. Okay. So,
nice.
I know. I was like, oh my God. And the fact that I didn't even consider it before, I'm like, duh, we have to get her on. We have to talk about this. You're actually a client of ours here within the agency. So, like, it just made sense. So, the response from that, I feel like, was so good. And I'm so grateful. And now here we are. We're having a conversation. So, anyway. Yeah. What about you?
So, peak right now for me.
Yeah.
So the office recently has been really busy with more families and more kids, which is definitely different. There's more of a stigma around chiropractic being for middle-aged men, neck pain, back pain only, and we really don't follow that model. So it's hard when it's also kind of a pit or a valley a little bit, because in the beginning you don't really want to say no to anybody, and you just want to help people.
Absolutely.
So you're definitely more money driven than what you would like to admit.
Yeah.
Like, your mission's to help people, but you're trying to make an income too.
Absolutely.
So year 2 for us has been about refinement and like improving systems, improving procedures, really trying to serve people that we not only align with, but we know really needs us, and maybe they don't know that they need us yet. So we've been really blessed in the office with having a lot of families and kids. Because of that, we also really loved our footprint for our office initially. And now when we do get large families in there, it's becoming very chaotic.
Yeah.
It's very hard to keep it a peaceful place. We have, we do the best that we can, but we have concrete floors. It's very noisy. Voices echo over that. So we're starting to see more kids with sensory processing disorders or ADHD or severe anxiety. And so those don't really complement each other well when kids are just being kids and being loud. And then, you know, you kind of sound like, not a bully, but a little bit, because you're having to get
you have to control
the
environment that you're creating. It's your business.
So we're trying to create that culture and cultivate peace and just rest and relaxation. It's a safe place for people. So it's been a blessing, but now we're having to be cognizant of how do we maximize the space we're currently in?
Absolutely.
So we're in it for a little less than 4 more years, and eventually we have big goals and visions for what our future space will look like. But for now, we have to, kind of figure out what's working and what's not working.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that.
So.
What is my pit? This morning, I did not read my book. I've been really consistent about, honestly, for the past 2 or 3 weeks, waking up and reading my book, and I didn't do it this morning. Yeah. But I told myself, I am listening to a podcast that is, in the same realm of conversation as the book I'm reading, so that kind of balances me out. But I do wish I would have managed my time a little bit better.
Yeah.
So
do you get up super early to do that?
I wake up at 5 and I try to get to the gym by 5:45. I've been running consistently 5 minutes behind every day. I usually don't get there until 5:50. Yeah. So yeah, it's a work in progress. Yeah. What about you? What's your pit?
Kind of along the same lines. Being pregnant, I was I'm gonna be just pregnant right here and super fit everywhere else. I was at my lowest weight, before this pregnancy, and this is baby number 3, so I was definitely at my heaviest with our first. Second one I was lower, this one I was lower, so really in the right healthy range for my height and everything.
Sure.
And it's just hard, we had 2 kids in the office, one running to school, doing all the things. So it's been very difficult to get up early, and that's when I prefer to work out too, is to get up at crazy times, 4 o'clock. Even if I could get my workout done, I'm the type who can come home and go back to bed if I still need more rest.
Yeah.
But if I don't allot the time for it, then I'm kind of rushing still. So probably that. I've really missed even just getting up a little earlier than the rest of the household to get things going for the day.
Yeah.
So
I really, what am I trying to say? What's the word I'm looking for? I really appreciate my alone time.
Yep.
And just, getting my thoughts in order for the day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love that so much. So I want to reintroduce you again, Karlee, Ascension Chiropractic. Yeah. You are kind of the office manager role, from my understanding. Right. So if I say something incorrect, please correct me.
Sure.
And then your husband is the chiropractor, and he is more the clinical side, and then you're more the business side. And I'm sure you guys obviously come together on those things as well. Yeah. So, backstory to how we originally met. Yeah. You came in our office. Do you remember this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I do.
You came in our office, both of you came into our office, and just introducing yourselves, so sweet. And something you said, I don't really remember what it was at the time. I don't think I've ever shared this with you. Or maybe I have. I don't know. I don't remember. You said something that made me go, I wonder if she knows Danny Waterman. I don't know if you said something about Florida.
Might have been Florida. Might have been the Gustin family, who also knows them.
Okay.
I realized that we were all more interconnected than we realized.
Yes. Yeah. So that in the moment, I wanted to ask you, do you know these people? And the conversation just didn't allow for me to squeeze that in. So time went on, and then I think, if I remember right, she's the one that brought it up to me.
I think that's right.
Shortly after. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, yes, I just met them. They came in the office, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, we kind of had a very strange but awesome encounter in the very beginning. Yeah. So how, since that transpired, I mean, did you guys even have doors open at that point? Do you remember?
I don't think so, because we opened, I always have to think about what year it was because it all blends, but I think it was March 22. So I feel like we were just kind of, anywhere we went, we were introducing ourselves to people. I think you guys opened just a little ahead of us, maybe a few months or something.
Yeah, but September of 21.
Okay, because I remember seeing you guys painting the walls and stuff on Instagram. Okay, somehow I spotted you guys there first. Yeah. So I knew when we were in town that we wanted to stop by. And just kind of get to know other small businesses. So
I love that.
Even if you were just sharing on Instagram or Facebook here and there, but Danny's husband, Dr. Gabe, and my husband went to school together, but Dr. Gabe was several trimesters ahead.
Okay.
And so I kind of got introduced to them right as they were getting ready to leave for Florida. So I really did not know Danny very well. And then I was reminded that she's from this area originally.
Yeah.
And so just realized how connected everybody was.
Yeah. Where are you originally from?
So I don't like to claim it, but Topeka, Kansas. So I'm from that area.
Okay.
We lived in Lawrence for a while.
Okay.
We spent 4 years there while he was in school, and I was going to Topeka to teach.
Okay.
And then he was going to Overland Park to go to school.
Okay.
And so I kind of tell people more Lawrence, but we're from Topeka. And
What's bad about
west of
Topeka?
that.
I don't get it. I'm not in it.
It's even
I shouldn't say
horrible to
bad,
say.
but you know what I mean.
it's just, it used to be more family oriented. I feel like it's just gone downhill a lot, like over the years. So,
okay, I get you.
Yeah, there's some different groups there that people know about, and they don't have great reputations.
I get it. Okay,
yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
So, you guys opened in 2022. How did you even get to that point? Like, because can you be a chiropractor and not like own your own practice? Is that an option? And then what were you doing prior to? How did you guys get to that point?
Yeah. With when their boards are scheduled, they have about 5 different board exams that they do, unless that's changed since he's been out of school. And with where they were lining up, you had to wait like 6 weeks before you got results, even though it was on a computer. So it was kind of hard because they would graduate, they completed doctorate school, so they have that title officially, but you cannot legally practice unless all of your board exams have been passed. So basically he graduated, we were waiting on whether or not he actually passed for the last one. And it just took some time, so we were really spinning our wheels trying to be proactive and see where we could open, because we always knew we wanted to do that on our own.
Yeah.
And it was just very challenging because we're trying to get a business loan. You don't really know for how much.
Yeah.
You can't confirm that you're going to be able to practice. If you had to retake board exams for any reason, then it's at least waiting to have that on the schedule, and then another 6 weeks on top of that.
That's chaotic.
So yeah,
it sounds
really
chaotic.
Yeah, it was really tough, especially because we already had kids. So we did everything kind of crazily.
Yeah.
Flying by the seat of our pants. But every time we tried to be proactive and maybe like look at a space, get something sort of on the table, it's like it didn't matter. We would get that pulled out from under us because we didn't have any confirmations of anything. So that wasn't their fault. That was just like
the way it is.
Yeah, putting the cart, before all the right things. So he could have gone and practiced in another office. That's called being an associate doc somewhere. The problem with that, without sounding greedy, is that they take on all this debt to become a doctor. It's a drop in the bucket with what you make.
100%.
It's great to go make some money, and like $50,000 or $60,000 as an associate doc is not like anything to be ashamed of. But to carry that title and to have worked so hard.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's anything to be ashamed of.
Yeah,
no.
It's just for like any other doctor, a medical doctor, a dentist, they might walk into something that's already been established where they don't have to be the business owner, but they can come in and be that clinical person and start working right away and start making that really like amazing money that people usually tie to those titles. And chiropractic's not really the same way. You're working for other business owners, so their budgets might be smaller.
Yeah, absolutely. You're only getting a fraction of the cut.
Right.
And long term, maybe you guys considered this, maybe you didn't, but long term, it's going to be overall better for you guys to build an asset that you own, that no one else owns, no one has the rights to. I was in dentistry for 7 years before we opened this up, and my brain just lost it. Whenever I was in hygiene, I worked for Heartland. So again, you could go there and be an associate dentist, but overall it's going to be best for the dentist or the doctor, whatever. I'm sure this applies to really any kind of doctorate degree, where they can own their own rights to the patient. And that sounds very strange, and I don't mean that in like owning people.
Right.
I mean that, you know, if you work for Heartland, you have to sign a contract stating that you won't work with these patients for X amount of time after you walk away.
Right.
So, anyway, I don't know if that's anything at all that you guys considered, but
yeah,
there's so many perks to that. So he graduates.
Right.
And you guys, now what? Like, how long did it take to get from, okay, we found out that he passed, and then opening doors?
Honestly, that took, I want to say, more than 6 months. It took like 7 or 8 more months.
Really?
So after graduation, actually, it was a year and 3 months after finding out he passed. It was about 7 or 8 months. So it was really long. We had a lot of like other kind of hurdles. We were selling our house in Lawrence. We moved in with his mom temporarily. That was just we just needed to do it kind of thing. Didn't want to try to buy something in the middle of COVID where it was really a seller's market at that time. So we sold our house, sat on our money, moved in with family just to kind of get things going. And then we knew we wanted to cross over from Kansas to Missouri side. And we had to figure out, there was like additional testing for that to practice in the state that we could do. Just little things to try to get the ball moving. But that's kind of what it was. It was like saving our money, building social media. Raising kids still.
I want to get to that. I want to get deeper into that. But you guys have a very strong social media presence.
Thanks.
You're probably the person with the strongest social media presence that we've had on the podcast. And that's not to say that the other people aren't posting. I just don't know that the level and the frequency is quite as much. So I think you should applaud yourself for that. That's so great.
Taking a little hiatus this week, and I've been trying to that's going to be more my job when I have this baby too, because it's been like doing 5 or 6 jobs in the office. So when I'm home, maybe not immediately, but when I'm home, I can start to really again, plan that out. At least high frequency, consistency, and all of that. And that's where I try to educate and make things fun too. So
absolutely.
Thank you for that.
Oh my gosh. It's very noticeable. So, so open it up. How did you guys figure out your roles? He obviously has the license. So he kind of has to be that role.
Right.
Like you said that you're doing all of these different jobs. What are all those jobs, and how are you shifting into niching down to wanting to, primarily focus on the marketing?
He always jokes that he's the laborer, and so we wouldn't work without each other. He's complimenting me, and he's like, she does everything, but I also couldn't do it without
absolutely
him. I was finishing teaching. I was teaching middle school gifted language arts, and he was getting close to being done, and was like, do you want to do something different? Is this a time where we could evaluate that? And I was like, maybe I'll be a nurse, but I was just throwing random stuff out there. I loved language arts and English and teaching. Politics was very strong in education. Parents, I'm not going to lie, are very difficult in education too. Kids are great. They're hard, but you could always start over, in my opinion, with kids.
I've heard that so many times over and over again, that is such a strong issue. So anyway.
It's one thing to be involved, and it's a hard line to
absolutely.
Because I wasn't a parent during that time. Want to advocate for my kids too, but there's definitely a line. So really, just anybody being upset is a bad day for you at work, because you can't hurt feelings or upset people. So that's where it was really politically heavy. But he was like, you don't want to be a nurse, and I thought about x-ray. We knew we were going to do that in the office, so they started a nightly rad tech program at Cleveland, which is there in Overland Park. So he would go, it's about 33 hours a trimester. It's like a full-time job. He'd be there all day, and then I would kind of tag in. He'd take care of the kids, and I would go out there for night. So I was doing that for night school, getting that going. I didn't want to just be, I told him, his glorified secretary, although he never treated me like that. I just knew I wanted to do more if I was going back to school again. And so that's what I got done with in a little under 2 years' time, and knew that was going to be my role. He was going to be the chiropractor, and then we were going to have to work out kind of everything in between. So I knew I would manage the front desk stuff, admin stuff, phone calls, scheduling, all of that. And he did help with that too, but now that we've hired a couple of girls, we're starting to distinguish that even more. So what do we want to take him out of, free up his time so he's on the floor. So there's more efficiency and flow again. We've had a lot of roles where he's been taken off the floor to talk about finances, how do you pay for this, what does care look like, and what do I recommend, why do I recommend it. And if you think about it, there's really not other doctors, like dentists isn't going to sit down and talk to you about the finances. You know, those front desk girls are going to do that, or staff, or other staff members will do that.
That's how it was, 100%.
Right. So it seemed so natural to factor him into that initially. I'm not really sure. I think he understood the number side of it more from a clinical stance than I did. But I handled, you know, taking payment and other things like that. So we've definitely blended the roles quite a bit, but I was very strong on the admin side, and he's very strong, obviously, on the clinical.
Absolutely.
Side.
It's, you know, we've had this conversation several times here in the office that secretary admin role is critical to the flow of the office. Really there were several times where, when I was in dentistry, where, you know, I would get frustrated with the front girls because I'm like, you know, your role is important. If you're not doing it right, it affects me. And flip side, you know, if I'm not doing my portion of how to help them out, rightfully so, you know, you should be frustrated with me. And we need to have some sort of efficiency here so that way everybody can operate on all cylinders. And it takes that position for those cylinders to work right. So it's such a underrated role. I mean, period.
It is.
It just is. Taking care of patients and making sure that they're happy, following up. One of the offices that I worked in, they would do patient follow-up calls, like, hey, how did you, after we did that, you know, filling and blah, 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 how are you? Are you good? You know, do we need to look at anything else? That's critical to making sure that a patient, or, you know, in our case, a client, feels good about who they're working with.
For sure.
So I love that. So are you excited about moving into marketing? Or like having a primary focus as marketing?
I think it's the primary focus because, when you're juggling so many different things, like, it's hard. Like, I'm consistent for a while and then I feel myself slip. And it's nice that you're not critical, you know, maybe from the outside looking in, it doesn't seem that way so much, but I'm my toughest critic, like most of us are. And so, I'm excited to just focus on a couple things. So that's what we've told the girls since hiring them too, is like, right now you have to kind of learn everything. That's more for like, somebody's gone, somebody's out, you can handle it, but I do want to capitalize on everybody's strengths. So
absolutely.
I mean, he wants to obviously just adjust, and he should. And I want to kind of focus on community marketing and, you know, networking in that way out there physically. Because when we were slow, we're not very busy, you know, he wanted me up there ready to take phone calls. I'm like, well, phone's not going to ring if I'm not out there doing stuff too. So it's kind of this weird little conundrum when it's just a two-man show. But, now that's going to free me up to be able to do that. I'm actually excited to delegate some things out. I'm kind of type A, kind of OCD, and I thought that wouldn't be my jam. You know, I wouldn't want to do that, but no, it feels really good to be able to hire people and focus on their strengths and empower them to do what they need to do. So we'll distinguish between the two girls, like where they feel comfortable and what they like too. But right now we're just in full-blown train on everything because this big
growth mode. I mean, period. You guys are in growth mode. You gotta, you know, like you said, delegate. And I know that's hard for a lot of. I think it's hard for anybody, but then for business owners, the source of the income, it can be difficult to hand that torch over. So for you to kind of do it with ease, kudos to you.
Oh, thanks.
I think if you're making it sound very easy, I think I would struggle a little bit more than what you have struggled. I'm just such a, like, I'll get it done. Like, I'll, like, ask me, you know, and then I'll get pissed off later that I have all these things that I need to get done. It's like I'm the one that signed myself up for it. It's so stupid.
That's what we do, though. We wear 10,000 hats. And
Yes.
we need to do, like, oh, you're going to do it the wrong way, or you're taking, you know, maybe I don't say that, but you're taking too long to do something. I can just do it.
Yeah.
Or I'm just right here.
Yes.
And it's like,
Yeah.
just have to breathe.
Absolutely.
Let it be.
And they will figure it out.
They'll fly better, you know.
Yes.
Just kind of relinquish a little bit. So.
Absolutely. So you have figured out your role. He's figured out, he knows his role. Everybody's moving and grooving. We've got people on the team now. You're figuring out environment. You're figuring out marketing. So what exactly do you guys offer? Like, who's the ideal client for you? What are they coming in for? Like, what is their chief complaint? What are they asking you for? I would love to know more about. I've never even been to a chiropractor, not once, ever. So, obviously for you know this, but obviously for myself, I want to know what that entails.
Well, we have a day 1, day 2 process, and on our day 1, we're typically doing all the exams and things like that, which for adults or somebody older than the age of 16, we're doing scans, which they are called our neuroscans or our insight technology, and then we're also doing x-rays. We try not to radiate kids if we don't have to, but if there's a good reason to, there's trauma or something like that, then we're going to do that before we just guess and start moving things around. But because, like I said, we're seeing more families, we're seeing more kids now, I'm trying to get the word out there that neurologically based chiropractic care is really different from kind of the ordinary pain-based model, which to each their own. And for chiropractors who do feel really comfortable in like the sports, the pain model, the musculoskeletal system and things like that, I think there's a need for them too. That's just not That's just not our area.
And now that you say the neurological, I've seen you talk about that on your social media.
I do try to a lot.
Okay, I remember that now that you say that.
Right. So when you hear somebody like me say principled chiropractic, they're talking about neurologically based care. Like the idea that if you treat things well from the inside out, you're going to have a better expression of health. And your nervous system commands all of your body. It tells your body to do literally every function that happens automatically without you thinking about it, like breathing. Your intestines moving food through your body. Like you don't have to command it to do that, but your nervous system does that. So the types of people that we're seeing now are people who typically have kids with some sort of issue, like brain fog. We see a lot of kids now for bedwetting issues. Something's not talking right to the rest of the body.
Interesting.
ADHD, high sensory. There's quite a bit of that. And we haven't had a whole slew of complex cases just yet, but I feel like with where we're at in business, with where we're at education-wise, we're starting to see people perk up to that. And so when I do educate on, it's not just for back pain, Bob, or you know your grandpa or something like that.
That's what I have in my mind, 100%. Like that, and I've never even been to one, so I don't even know where I've acquired this concept. But I'm so great to know that it goes beyond that.
It does. I mean, I tell people health is two-pronged. You know, some things happen to you and you just have to respond to it. But if you treat all of your existence like that, where, you know, I'm just going to deal with it when the wheels fall off, then not only is it usually going to be more costly at that point, but your quality of life is going to severely go down. It's just a degradation of life at that point, because usually like a full-blown, you know, your tire exploding on the side of the road is not going to be repaired. So you're having to do overhaul and damage control at that point. Whereas if you were to maintain your car, aka, you know, your body and the one home you have to live in your whole life, then preservation of health is going to be much simpler and probably much gentler. So, I mean, none of us are getting any younger, but I do believe you don't have to be condemned to this mindset that it runs in my family. That's just going to happen to me.
Oh, I love this.
You can change the trajectory of your health at any point.
Absolutely. So, I love this. I love all of that, especially when you talk about it runs in my family. You know, it's something to consider. And it's not, it can't be completely eliminated from the equation. It is merely a contributing factor. Literally in the textbook, And I mean, at least on my end of the ordeal, whenever I was in dentistry, it was all of these things are contributing factors.
Right.
We don't really know a cause.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, all of these things combined are the cause.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I love that is, it sounds like to me, heavily taken into consideration whenever you guys are treating patients.
Right.
And I think, I don't know, I love that. And
I've
never known.
Right. I mean, subjectively, you want to hear people's story. You want to hear what they're going through, what they're dealing with. But when we ask people, like, we focus on goals more so now than we ever did before too. I tell them I want to know, like, why are you here? Like, what do you want to get out of this experience? And a lot of times the goals start out with, like, I just want to be pain-free. Like, I get it. That's a part of it. Like, most of the time, again, we've probably had underlying things going on for quite some time.
Yeah.
Now it's manifesting in the form of pain.
Absolutely.
So once that happens, it starts to disrupt our lives so much that we are forced to do something about it. So it makes sense that that's the first thing you want to get rid of.
Yeah.
But I do educate people that if you're looking at a pie, then pain is just 10% of that. And so with neurologically based care, we're going to recommend a higher frequency. We're going to be more expensive probably. I know those don't sound like good things, but it really it's in how you look at it. It can empower you to make changes.
Yes.
Or you can be condemned, like I said, or you can, identify as whatever label you have or whatever label your kid has and just think that that's how your life's going to be.
Yeah,
but you deserve to enjoy your life.
Absolutely.
And to have hope and answers and healing. And so to me, it's more empowering to know, like, yeah, I'm going to have to work for it, but consistency and time is going to get me there.
I mean, what else in life is not like that?
Right? I mean, I tell people, I'm like, I'm going to work out one time. And I do. If that was on the table, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be too proud to say I'm going to take the easier option, but it's just not how life works. So health that really addresses the root cause instead of Band-Aid fixing the issue is going to demand more of you.
I love that. I think that you're going to, especially by sitting here talking about it, having a conversation about it, you're going to really attract those patients that desire that, and you're going to, the other people that are more pain driven and one and done type of situation, they're not going to be for you. That is okay.
Yeah. That's
those people that want, piss poor coverages and, they're just not for us. And that is okay. They are allowed to live their life however they want.
Well, let me compliment you on that though, because you educated me really well on insurance in the beginning too. And I remember talking to you and where I was sitting at in my house when we were going over it. And it was a couple conversations, but I'm like, nobody's ever explained it to me like that before.
Sure.
You just know you need health care or you just need insurance and you have to cover your bases.
Yeah.
So most of the time, with insurance, we're shopping based on the dollar too. Yeah. Just like we get those phone calls like, do you accept my insurance? No, we don't take insurance because insurance will try to dictate how we address what's going on with you. And if it's not an acute injury, they don't want to cover it. They make more money with you being sick than they do with you being well. We're just not incentivized to be well. It's more cost effective really in the short term to be sick. Yep. But you educated me really well on that too. I've met.
Well, good. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, I've met a hairdresser at a totally different field who's educated me on why I should pay for her because she's radically more expensive, but she uses low tox products, and I like how I look better. Yeah. And why that's more the route to go. I could go the easier route and pay cheaper insurance or cheaper hair or cheaper health, at least from a present standpoint, but in the long term, those things are going to pay dividends because you covered yourself well, you educated yourself, you took care of your body.
You were given value in some capacity. Someone said, "Hey, you could do the $5 plates that are disposable." Yeah. But you do own a dishwasher. Yeah. And you have these luxurious glass plates, and it's just awareness and knowledge of what could be. So I love your guys' philosophy. That is absolutely amazing. I am a dummy in the category of chiropractic. Honestly, anything that is outside of dentistry, I'm a dummy. So I'm grateful for you to be here and to educate me and to educate the audience so that we are making informed decisions for ourselves.
Yeah.
So I know you mentioned earlier a different office. What exactly does that look like? I know you don't really care for the concrete floor, or maybe not even necessarily concrete floors, but the way that the noise carries through the office. Yeah. So in an ideal situation, what does that look like for you, and what does expansion look like for you guys?
Yeah, so at first, the open concept seemed really nice for families because like if you're coming in with your kids, you can see over in the corner, they're away from the front door, kids are less likely to be running out in the parking lot or something. And they're off to the side, noise is kind of controlled, open bay adjusting area, there's just 2 tables side by side. The concrete floors are really aesthetically pleasing, but they're just so noisy. So future office to us looks like, I mean, we have about 2,000 square feet, but that's probably
a good chunk of office.
It really is a good size, but we need more rooms for individual exams.
Absolutely.
We need more rooms for our scanners. We have what we will upgrade to will be 2 sets of Insight technology scanners, so that way we can have dual exams going and not just stuck on one and waiting for that room to clear out. But basically, we envision a slightly bigger space, more rooms. I didn't think that would be part of our vision because lots of walls seems to not be most people's vision in their houses, in their business, whichever. But I think it's going to control the noise better. Maybe it's like the fabricated hardwood in the future with soundproofing underneath it. Just going to have to spend the extra money there. And honestly, like, for some of our high sensory kids, I've wanted to invest in like busy boards and things on the walls and more, isolated to different rooms, so that way they've got a little something to entertain them. But for HIPAA purposes, they can share in more quiet spaces. If we have a financial thing that we need to deal with at the front end,
absolutely,
not everybody's hearing that either. So just trying to be more cognizant of people's experience overall. It's just a little bit more pleasant.
I love that so much.
So that means a lot to us too. I just want people to have felt freed up from stress and not adding to their stress a little bit, because it's crazy. So
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Do you guys want to have multiple offices, or do you want to stick to one?
I think just one. I think some people do try to duplicate a lot. I mean, if we ever did, it would maybe be one other. It would just, if it's a part of our future, it's just not something we have had the door open to yet.
And at that point, would you consider an associate?
Right, yeah.
Okay, I think manage the other one?
I think once our lease is done at the place that we're currently at in Raymore, we will probably hopefully be able to hire an associate. I can't imagine we wouldn't be, but I'm just saying at the latest, that would probably be about the time we do that. So we can also open up our hours. We could have some Friday hours, we can have some Saturday hours if we need to. If it really turns out to be a high demand. We've kind of backed off of crazy hours, just one, because there are trends with chiropractic, but also because we've tried to preserve our family time too. When our kids took a hit, especially our daughter, she's been part of this since she was 10 months old. So we've always been going a million miles a minute. And so it's like, she's going to be 8. We have 10 more years with her. You're like, then she's going to be gone. And so we're trying to preserve our time with our family.
It's challenging. We don't have any kids, but whenever you own a business, and I mean, even for those that are just very mentally invested in their career, it's it's kind of the pulse of the whole ship, because it pays the light bills, it pays for the water bills. So it can be tricky to separate.
And when you have a bad day, it's on you. Like, you can't really blame it on anybody else.
Oh, I love this.
I mean, you could try, but you can't blame it on anybody else.
I love that.
My parents are in Topeka, and they want us, to come back more often. And I'm like, I know you want a 50-50, but it's honestly still going to be like 70-30 or 80-20, because I just can't load up 3 kids and drive for 3 hours round trip and it be nothing, And they try to relate. They're like, we had kids, we know what it's like. I'm like, but you guys didn't have divorced parents. We both do. So when we go, we have to.
Do they have a business?
They didn't have a business.
I mean, lots of factors that are different.
So even when we're not in the business, like, you're still working on the business in a lot of ways.
Yes.
I hope to not do that forever. That's part of the idea, that you can walk away and your business will still thrive. But for a while, it's just you with your foot on the gas. So if you do lose sight or you do get distracted, it feels like your business sort of implodes a little bit. So
Absolutely.
you have to keep your eye on it.
We had on Devon and Andrea West. They live here in the area.
Yeah.
They've got a real estate agency. And they were talking that the boundary that they've kind of created is, because they're both in it, they both are doing.
I think
I
don't think I heard the podcast. I think I saw some images of them though, and I saw that they were here in Pleasant Hill, right?
Yes. Yeah. And she came on the podcast and we were talking similar conversation.
Yeah.
And they have one specific room in their house where they don't talk business. Yeah. That's kind of the boundary that they've created. Yeah. Me and Jake will try to, nothing more after 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock. And I can't even give you a specific time. That's how messy that is.
Yeah.
But it's important to set up those boundaries so that way you are getting time to spend with your family and you are still extremely focused and invested into the business.
Right.
So that's so cool. The main thing that I wanted to get was making sure that we understood what kind of patients you're seeing and what do you think are the top 3 appointment types that you guys see?
Top 3, especially as of late, would still be kids, I think, with bedwetting or brain fog issues. That's kind of the main one with kiddos, it seems like right now. Or sleep issues. We'll consider that like a 1 and 2. And then for adults, our reach is still growing on social media, so I feel like once our presence is even more known on that, maybe people will do more research on us before they decide they want to come in. So it will change the way that we educate when they do come in based on how much they know. But for those that are coming in still kind of cold to it and haven't been to a chiropractor or have only been a handful of times,
sure.
For adults, we're still getting adults typically that want to improve mobility. We were having like pregnancy, we were kind of low on the pregnancy side right now, just like people have had their babies, so we're kind of on a downswing with that. But I would say mobility and headaches still. That's kind of a big one. And little do they know that those things still tie into neurology more so than they do even the musculoskeletal system, but we do have to educate pretty heavily on why we're going to be the ones that tell you we need to see you several times a week, probably up front, versus another chiropractor who's going to say that's silly, like we'll just see you here and there when you feel pain. Then you're just scratching the surface too. So I would say those are kind of our top 3 right now.
I love that. Is there anything else that you want to mention before we jump off here and we wrap up? Where are we on time?
Are still, we're still running a special for August for back to school. So if people come in August, if people want to, we've been telling them like if they scheduled in August, even if their appointment is in September, we would honor that price.
Okay.
Because we don't know for sure what we're doing for September.
Okay.
But normally our first 2 visits with all of our exams, our first adjustment, everything, that's normally $250. It's just $51 for the month of August. So even if they schedule in August.
So if you're seeing this, reach out. And where can they reach you?
Yeah, so do you want me to just share a phone number or?
And honestly, everything. I want socials, I want website, I want phone number.
Yeah, so on Instagram, it is just Ascension Chiropractic. On Facebook, it's Ascension Chiropracticmo, M-O for Missouri. Okay. And then our website is ascensionchiro.com. And our phone number is 816-441-9004.
Perfect. And I will put that up on the screen. Yeah. All that information will be listed below as well. Sure. Or if it's Facebook, it will be above. But thank you so much for coming on. This was so great. Yeah. I'm so glad, even for just myself, to be a little more informed on the realm of chiropractic and knowing how the different avenues of treating patients. Yeah. So, thank you so much.